Well, oftentimes business education today, and I see it all the time, kids come out of college, the best colleges, Wharton and Harvard and Stanford and some of the great business schools, and they'll come out and they won't have practical experience. There's too many case studies that aren't practical.
You know, we ask kids that are 16 to 18 years old to make $100,000 debt decisions when they go off to university. And they are not prepared for that. They don't know what they're getting themselves into. They just assume, okay, I'm going to pay 4 years of education at $25,000 a pop. And when I come out the other side, somehow I'll be able to pay it back.
Right.
That's not how life works anymore.
There's no need even to have a college degree at all, or even high school. I mean, if somebody graduated from a great university, that may be an indication that they will be capable of great things, but it's not necessarily the case. You know, if you look at, say, people like Bill Gates or Larry Ellison, Steve Jobs, these guys didn't graduate from college. But if you had a chance to hire them, of course, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think having the flexibility to explore a lot of different things, which you can do when you're in college, which is one of the amazing things about being in college, is you can work on all these hobbies and code a lot of stuff and try a lot of different things. It's this amazing flexibility that I think most people take for granted. And once you decide, okay, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to do it with someone else, you immediately now need to convince someone else if you want to change your mind on something. And I think people really undervalue the option value and flexibility. I think explore what you want to do before committing is really like the key thing, and keep yourself flexible. And no, I think that's. I
agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny. You know, if you think of like what is education, like you're basically downloading data and algorithms into your brain, and it's actually amazingly bad in conventional education because like it shouldn't be like this huge chore. You know, someone's standing up there kind of lecturing at people. And they've done the same lecture 20 years in a row, and they're not very excited about it. And in fact, I think a lot of things people learn, probably there's no point in learning them because they never use them in the future. Because a lot of kids just in school kind of puzzled as to why they're there.
The people who are doing the work that we care about are figuring out what to do next, not following the person who told them what to do next. And the problem with most colleges is they are high school, but with more binge drinking. The entire purpose of a good university is to give you a foundation to fail, not a foundation to get an A. And if you graduate from college with straight A's, you have to do some serious soul searching as to why you chose to spend your time doing that.
The A students work for the B students. The C students run the businesses, and the D students dedicate the buildings.
It's like the newspaper industry, right? More printing presses, more big buildings, right? Makes us look grander. We have brains that we're putting them out there. There's a point of diminishing returns in terms of what it's worth for a college education and how much debt you're willing to saddle yourself with.
A lot of people follow. A lot of people are followers. Generally, if not, we'd have problems. We have too many entrepreneurs. We have too many successful people. Like, look how many people go through business classes. If everything you needed was in that actual business class, in that book, it'd be too many successful business people.
Right.
How many people graduate? Matter of fact, the professor wouldn't have the time to sit there and teach you. That knows this book damn near verbatim, page by page. He knows it, right?
Because he'd be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he's too busy. I'm doing way too much right now because I got the palm trees and we selling so much of the stuff that I'm doing that I ain't quite got time to teach no motherfucking class right now because I'm winning.
And so when you walk into a boardroom with a bunch of guys in suits who all went to college, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, because they read a bunch of words. I've lived a bunch of life.
Well, that's true. Their law degree doesn't intimidate you, in other words.
It kind of evens us out, whether they know it or not.
Where do you think you get that self-esteem from? Seriously. I mean, most guys...
My mom, first and foremost, but then just living life, like, you know, being in real situations and happen to be a person of high integrity and honesty and, you know...
You never embarrassed yourself?
No, of course not.
You never walked in and said, "Oh, everybody thinks I'm ignorant here. I'm stupid."
I don't feel ignorant.
Right.
You know, I don't.
Right.
I felt like I came up in a situation, or a time, you know, where I wasn't afforded certain opportunities, and if afforded opportunities, I could be Oprah. I could be Bill Gates. I could be Warren Buffett.
In my experience in business,
There is very little difference, if any, between a very high-priced business education and what's available for a lot less money. I went to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln my last year in college. I went to Wharton for a couple of years before that. I learned just as much at the University of Nebraska as I did at Wharton. You need to be prodded in the right direction, but an awful lot of it is self-taught. It isn't necessary to pay $30,000 or $35,000 a year to go to some big name school to get the education at all. I mean, if you're going to learn accounting, which is probably the most important course you'd take in business, if you're going to learn accounting, you can learn accounting absolutely as well, in my view, going to UNO as going to Harvard. I mean, I see. I'd bet on that, and so I wouldn't run up huge bills.
Many successful individuals have expressed skepticism about the utility of a college degree in today's world, and this sentiment has gained traction for several reasons. Firstly, the rising cost of higher education has left many graduates burdened with substantial student debt, often outweighing the immediate benefits of their degrees. Secondly, the fast-paced nature of the modern industries, especially in technology and entrepreneurship, often means that skills and knowledge gained during a degree program can quickly become outdated. Moreover, the rise of alternative education paths, such as online courses, boot camps, and apprenticeships, offer more direct, practical, and cost-effective ways to acquire specific job-related skills and experience.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our next edition of Speak Your Mind. My name is Pastor Giovanni, and we're going to be here together to give you guys these topics and a little bit more so that you can speak your mind and let us know what you guys think. Our lines are already open, so you have the opportunity throughout this whole program to give us a call. That number that appears on your screen now, for example, through WhatsApp or through regular phone call, 877-785-8700, or through WhatsApp. You can give us a call or send us a message, 437-233-9815. I do not find myself here alone, but I am here with Miss Audrey. Miss Audrey, how you doing?
Good evening, Pastor. I'm well. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Speak Your Mind. And we're excited to hear what you have to say on the following. We have our Telegram poll that we would love for you to start voting. You can go ahead and let us know what your thoughts are on this. Work experience versus academic education. What do you have to say about this? Do you believe that one is more significant than the other? We have the following, as it says, academic education is more important, or do you believe anyone can have work experience? Do you think they don't matter at all, or do you think they both are important? Let us know what you think. Scan the QR code, and we'll be announcing the results.
Now, at the end of the program, we're going to be speaking our mind on this topic, but we definitely want you to go first. And just before we get started and start answering phone calls, reading your comments as you send them in, I want to show you guys this next video. When we show it, when we come back, we'll already be answering some phone calls. We'll be right back.
According to WTOP News, college degrees are losing more career clout. Many companies are increasingly dropping four-year degree requirements, putting more emphasis on experience. This change is not just for entry-level jobs, as 1/3 of the companies that have dropped degree requirements did so for senior-level roles. This data was collected through a survey of HR managers by Intelligent.com that found 53% of hiring managers said their company removed the bachelor's degree requirement for some roles in the past year. Stacey Haller, a career coach who worked with Intelligent.com, said, for so many jobs, it's an arbitrary requirement, and it does eliminate people who needlessly could be great employees. She added, there is also a big chunk here about creating more equity and diversity. If you cannot afford to go to your college to get a four-year degree, if it's financial reason or maybe a time reason, then you are already eliminated from all of those jobs.
Companies are increasingly focusing on experience, with 76% of hiring managers in the survey saying they favor real-world skills over education. WTOP writes that the majority of these companies are also testing candidates in the interview process, with 64% saying they have applicants complete a test assignment. The professionals stated as more likely to value experience over education are in retail, construction, healthcare, and social skills.
You'll love to see it.
Yeah, this is an interesting one for a couple of reasons. One, I think that when you look at statistics, they show that, for example, Black people who have college degrees have less are worse off financially than high school graduates who are white. And one of the reasons is exactly because of student debt. Black people disproportionately are taking out student debt to go to college because they have less family wealth, and because it's really been impressed upon us as a community that all of the problems that you have are because you didn't get enough education. So we obsessively go and get a ton of master's degrees, et cetera, to try to compete in the job market. And we live with that debt for a long time. So on one hand, you can see the playing field might get evened out here. On the other hand, you know, we saw this with the conversation about whether or not getting rid of the SATs is a good idea. There are people who want to get rid of it because there's certain groups who perform very well, Asian Americans, et cetera, and others are at a competitive disadvantage, and others who say that obviously is unfair. In that conversation, a lot of conservatives say, we shouldn't get rid of it. We shouldn't get rid of the testing. You're just disadvantaging, you know, Asian kids principally. Other people say it is one of the few, some leftists say we should have the SAT because it's one of the few things that someone can do to compete if they come from a socially economic disadvantaged environment that puts you on kind of an even playing field with other people. Now, it's not an exact science because if you can pay to get tutored, et cetera, you have a leg up. But if you're dirt poor and you can't afford violin lessons and you can't afford to travel Europe and you can't afford to go to a private school, being able to just compete on the test would be an equalizer.
And the key is the violin lessons and the club soccer team and the European trip and the volunteer work. All of that stuff cumulatively costs a lot more money. It costs a lot more time. More greatly advantages wealthier people than just hiring the tutor for the test.
So the question in this scenario is, and we'll have to see how this plays out, does taking college out of it basically get you in a situation where those not intangibles count more in a way that disadvantages people who are not perceived to be just abstractly likable by the employer? So are you going to get more bias sneaking in that way? Are people more likely to get work experience if they could have done internships and been unpaid for long periods of time, which again advantages people who are more affluent? Are you going to get these tests that are being administered during an exam? What's the deal there? Are they actually targeted to figuring out if someone is well suited for the job, or is there more bias that can sneak in there? So a lot of this stuff can cut both ways.
Yeah. I've wanted to pop this college bubble for a long time because it's so much, it's years of your life, it's a lot of money, it puts people in debt. And then how closely does what you're actually learning match the skills you need? You know, they talk college, the institutions themselves talk a big game about how, you're not being told what to think. You're being taught analytical skills about how to think and solve problems, et cetera. I don't know. Those claims don't necessarily hold up necessarily all the time. There's been a lot of research on like how much do you actually even remember from your college instruction. Remember the book Academically Adrift? It was like people forget, like you can recall like 10% of the things you've actually learned over so many years after college. So if it's just delaying entry to the job market without actually giving, maybe it's giving you some good skills, but then is it $100,000 worth of debt for years?
Do you wish you hadn't gone to college?
Do I wish I hadn't gone to college? No. But I certainly wouldn't have gone into debt to do it. I don't have any debt. I didn't take out loans to do it. I went to a state school that was affordable for my family, University of Michigan. Certainly, was all of it useful to me? No, there were vast parts of it that were not useful. In fact, I don't think a lot of my classes improved my writing skills. I was an English literature major. I think my
basket weaving.
What?
Basket weaving. What did you expect to do with that, Robbie?
Well, I'm lucky to be in a career of ideas. The most useful part of college for me was I worked for the student newspaper. There was no journalism. I don't think there was a journalism major, and you shouldn't major in it if it is available. But it was more like an apprenticeship or an internship where you learn skills from other people working at the student paper. I think my creative writing classes were very beneficial to me. I think most of my classes could be.
You're a writer. Your other job is as a journalist at Reason, and it sounds like you're.
I think I used
You're telling me you didn't learn a lot in college. You set that up front, but you're explaining to me the other words that are coming out of your mouth.
I didn't say it was me. I think I probably use what I narrowly learned in college. I think if you're a media person or writer, I think that's
a lot of jobs require writing, and a lot of jobs
that's what
require.
I'm saying. Was I taught writing skills by the English literature major part of it? No, I was mostly taught writing skills by the student paper.
Well, I was taught writing skills. I had to write in all of my classes in college. I wasn't an English literature major, but I certainly learned how to make an argument and to do research and to do substantive analysis and understand the difference between primary and
I
secondary
learned how
sourcing.
to extend a BS argument for like 8 pages.
And look, you get to do it for a living now, Robbie.
8 minutes is a lot shorter than 8
the
pages.
The point you're making about University of Michigan, I have a very close friend who also went to the University of Michigan who did come out of that program with loans because his family couldn't afford it. And the problem is that even though we have these amazing state institutions like University of Michigan, even the $12,000 a year or so that it costs compared to $60,000 a year at some of these private schools is still too much for a lot of families. And so that's why, you see, frankly, Black people and historically marginalized people disproportionately going to those state schools and still coming out with more debt than other people. So again, I think that it's on balance.
Well, I also support capping the tuition.
Yeah,
thing,
so
or capping, if not reducing.
On balance, I agree that it's a good thing for college degrees not to be unnecessarily required for jobs that obviously don't have any relationship there. Especially, I think the bigger issue is a lot of these master's degrees and continued education that these jobs kind of add on as a requirement. They say go to school for 8 years to get this job that's going to pay you $40,000 a year. It's ridiculous. It won't even pay you as much as 1 year of your tuition. It's ridiculous. However, it is obvious that whenever you start to talk to people who are claiming that it's all elitism to want to go to college, they have gone to college, they have benefited from college, and there's some gatekeeping going on, or people want to pull the ladder up behind them. Well, I think that college is an experience that you and I both chose and valued, and that you and I procreate, we'll probably choose for our respective children. And there's a reason for that. And I think that it is obviously true that they teach you ways of thinking, the ability to analyze some of these COVID research studies that come out that people seem to not be able to read a research study or understand the data. All of that comes.
There's a difference. I think there's a difference between saying, yes, obviously it's true that having a certificate that says you graduated from the University of Michigan or Harvard or whatever is beneficial because society values it. The question is how much of the reputational benefit that you get from having that degree actually does reflect some underlying learning and accruing of skills, or is it all just a reputational effect, a credentialing kind of system? Yeah. And there's somewhere in between, right? I'm not saying everything you learn at college is useless. Of course, that'd be a really impractical credentialing system whereby there's nothing useful, but everyone has to do it, pay the money, spend 4 years of their life, even though it doesn't. Clearly, it sends some kind of signal. Yeah. The question is, how precisely does the signal match what you're actually learning? And there is room for disagreement about how much of it is value, if it's valuable.
I agree. And then that's why I like to look at Scandinavian models in a lot of European countries where there are fewer colleges, obviously, smaller countries. And they all are within like 10 degrees of goodness of each other. One might be considered a little bit more prestigious than the other, but the point is you go to learn the things you need to learn to then be in the workforce. And they're free. And they will even pay for you to live and to eat and to have your books and all of that. And so it's not about I got into this school or I had this competitive advantage or my mom paid $100 an hour for me to get this tutoring lesson or whatever. It actually is is better designed to have the desired effect, which is just to educate the populace and send them out into the world.
Honestly, and that's how we should view a lot of our institutions. There's the sort of college ranking industry distorts that a lot of Harvard is really great, Princeton is really great, Yale's really great. But in the middle, there are a lot of institutions, being ranked against each other that the educational quality you're getting is pretty similar.
I also wouldn't say that Harvard and Princeton, those are giving you that much. I mean,
I think it's probably a little better. I don't think it's 1,000 times better than the next.
Yeah, when you talk to professors, they'll say things about there being like a different quality of student, but I don't know that the quality of instruction is necessarily that different. I mean, I can't say I've only been to one school.
I don't think it is either.
But I think we can pretty firmly say that.
But that matters because if the quality of instruction at a more affordable institution, like a community college or something, is not actually all that, it's a little bit different, it's a little bit less, but it's not 1,000 times less good.
That's what I was going to say.
Then we should not have a system that incentivizes people just to go to the most top one they could possibly get into, never mind how much it costs.
And no matter if it takes you committing a felony like Aunt Becky to get your kid into what was it?
Well, that was about the experience. They wanted to party at whatever institution, which is another reason that maybe COVID has shook this a little bit because so many wealthy people, they just wanted, they want to get their kid the fun experience or something. I don't think it was about
the kid, she has a funny name like Olive. She's got one of those celebrity names. I forget what her name is.
She has a funny name like Olive.
You know, she's got one of those like cute celebrity names, like, you know, kind of I'm special. I mean, I don't mean to, it's not her fault. I'm not trying to rag on her, but I think it's Olive or something like that. She was saying that she didn't even, Olivia, is it Olivia? She didn't even want to go to college. Like she didn't want to go. This was fully her mom. So I don't know how much it was about the party experience.
There's no influencer major, so.
We'll give it time. And you know what? Given how many people are making money in the gig economy on doing things like influencing, it's not necessarily the craziest thing that there could be a legitimate educational experience about the economics of starting a channel in the future.
I'm gonna have to enroll in that. I'm sure we have plenty to learn.
Right. We'll have a rising for you after this.
And we're back with everybody. I think we already have a phone call. You can keep calling us right now in this moment, 877-785-8700. Miss Crystal, do you hear me?
Yes, Pastor. Good evening.
How you doing, Miss Crystal?
I'm well, thank you.
Miss Crystal, we're asking everybody the following question about work experience and academic education. I have also with me Mrs. Audrey. Mrs. Audrey, do you think you can ask the question to Miss Crystal?
Yes, Ms. Crystal, you personally, I wanted to see about you. What is your opinion on this matter? What do you have to say?
I think work experience and academic education are both significant in their own way, right? They are important. For example, I would say your academic education gets you the job, but then your experience is what is going to keep the job. So you need to have both academic education as well as some significant experience.
Now, Mrs. Crystal, question.
Okay.
I'm sorry to cut you off. What would you say then? Do you think people who have that academic education, do you think they deserve to be paid more, and those with no experience should be paid less?
If those with more academic education should be paid more?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily they should be paid more just because they have the academic education. If someone also has an experience that sort of outweighs your academic education, then they should be paid just as much as you have.
Understand. And Ms. Crystal, one of the things that we were talking about before, what do you say to the people who say, well, you don't need work experience, nor do you need academic education, especially one of the examples that was said was about today, a lot of YouTubers and a lot of social media influencers or content creators that have no experience whatsoever, yet they're going forward and they're prospering. What would you say to that?
Well, I'm of the belief you need either. You need either an academic education or some sort of experience. And really it boils down to the kind of job that you're looking for and what you want to go into. Now for the issue with social media and content creation, sooner or later, you're going to have the requirements for either a certificate or something of that nature if you're going to be a content creator. Because now you see people even have courses online where you study social media content creation and things like that. Sometimes when we speak about academic education, we always just think about it being so formal and maybe in the four walls of a university or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But for anything, I think you need some level of tutorship. You need to be taught, because there are some things I can't do on my phone because I haven't been taught. So even if I learn it informally from a friend of mine, but I believe that some way or the other, you need to get some sort of education to do literally anything.
Mrs. Crystal, thank you so much for speaking your mind, for sharing your thoughts with us tonight. Have a good night, okay?
Have a good night, Pastor. Thank you.
Mrs. Audrey, do we have any more comments regarding our topic?
We do, Pastor. We have Keith that says like this: I personally think work experience is much more important than education. With work experience, it's much easier for you to give examples of what you can do in an interview to prove that you are capable for that job. Jess says, when it comes to a specific profession, education is necessary. However, you will still need work experience to perfect your skills, so I believe both are important. And you can also let us know your thoughts. You can join our Telegram poll. You can scan the QR code as it appears on your screen and go ahead and vote the following. What do you think is more important?
Mrs. Audrey, I forgot to ask about you. What do you think? Do you think one is more important to the other? What's your opinion on this?
I think it would be both. Both are of value, but I think there's also things that you won't learn in, in schooling, through books, reading, just obtaining just knowledge. I think you also need the hands-on approach. So that teaches a lot of like character building skills, like it teaches you values. It teaches you a lot of things when you have to work hard for it in the sense of like work experience. If you have to start from the bottom, from the basics, I think it gives you much more of value as well, as opposed to just learning something from the books,
Perfect.
So-
I think we also have another phone call. Let's see if we can connect. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
How are you doing tonight, Mrs. Ashley?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Look, we're asking everybody the following question about academic education versus work experience. Do you think one matters more than the other?
I think that they're both important. In my opinion, just like the lady was saying earlier, that they don't teach us, like for example, in high school or middle school, they don't teach us about the real life. Like, for example, I'm a career specialist. So in college or high school, they don't teach anybody how to build credit, how to go about life. And if you wanted to purchase a house or a car, or how to get, financial literacy, they don't teach that. So I feel like both of them are important, but also it comes hand in hand with the education part and the work experience. You build that outside. The education part, they're just educating you on what to do. But on the outside, in the real world, you learn that. You learn the basics. You learn all of that. And to get like a higher paying job, it requires for you to have the experience rather than the degrees and stuff like that you have.
Now, Mrs. Ashley, what would you say then, for example, to that little boy, Mrs. Audrey, what's his YouTube? The little boy who reviews toys on YouTube?
I don't know that one. No,
Ryan?
sir.
I think you're talking about Ryan.
Yes. What life experience, what work experience, what academic education do you think a little kid like that who made it on YouTube has?
Well, you see, his parents were smart because they were able to see that YouTube was, blowing up. So what they thought about that. I don't think
That experience for you? Did they influence you in that, or was that your own decision to make?
they did say to go to college, to be someone in life, but I mean, I didn't personally. I did go to college, but I was going based like for just to please them. But I didn't finish. I didn't finish criminal justice because I found out how much they were making. So the role that I have now makes the same, or if not more, than what I was gonna receive as a criminal justice major. So I make more than what a criminal justice major was gonna make, or I was gonna make. But my sister, she does have a degree in financial the finance world. And yeah, that's my parents did influence both of us. It was just my opinion to not go forward with it.
Ms. Ashley, thank you so much for speaking your mind, for sharing your thoughts with us. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you for having me.
877-785-8700. Let's go to our next video, and we'll be right back.
What is school for? Feel free to call me slow, but I spent 16 years going to school, and I still don't know. When I finished, I didn't know how to do my own taxes, purchase a home, or apply for a loan. I didn't know a thing about investments, building credit, or getting a job. I graduated at the top of my class, and what did I have? This fancy diploma to sit at home with my mom. But luckily, they did teach me some important skills like factoring trinomials and how mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I'm so happy I remember the Pythagorean theorem because it helped me a lot. Okay, I'm lying. Let me stop. Because all the stuff they taught me, truthfully, I forgot. Mom, remember when you would ask me, what did you learn in school today? And I would say, nothing much. I wasn't being modest. The truth about it, Mom, is I had already forgotten. And it's not just me. Millions of students sing the same song. How many of you guys avoid eye contact with the teacher to try not to get caught upon? Afraid to raise your hand for fear of being wrong, which proves that school isn't an environment for learning or building up the intellect. It's just a game you play for grades and how many A's you can collect. But I guess what do you expect when the most commonly asked question in class is this gonna be on the test? Is this gonna be on the test? See, if school put learning instead of testing and memorizing as the top standard, then the letter F would not stand for failure. It would stand for find another answer. And if school was really interested in our personal and academic success, students would wake up later, have more freedom and homework, a lot less. And that's not my opinion. This conclusion has been scientifically tested and proven. And any teacher that doesn't believe me, feel free to check my works cited page to inspect. Oh, and I did it in MLA format because I know that's all you will accept. See, students would get more benefit from an extra hour of sleep than putting them through the torture of an extra essay, reading 150 pages, doing problems 1 through 60 on the worksheet, and having 3 projects due by the end of the week. Not only is it pointless pain, but it's also dim-witted, because we get so much work, but they don't teach the time management skills to deal with it. See, in school, we are controlled by bells. We have to learn in rooms with the feng shui of a prison cell. We have to ask permission to relieve bodily functions, but not before the teacher asks a million questions like, why didn't you go before class? I'm sorry, my bladder is kind of on its own schedule and it's not always timely. See, teachers always say, use your time wisely, but that never made sense to me. Because these 6 cruel hours of our lives we call school might literally be the worst use of time management ever in history. Think about it, the traditional teaching method is foolish. No, it's useless, multiplied by the square root of stupid. What they do is they cram information in your head, force feeding you, and then you throw it up on the test. That's not education, that's bulimia. And the more bulimic you are, the better you will do on their assessment. So it's no wonder why so many students graduate mentally and emotionally anorexic. See, school teaches you how to memorize dots. True education should teach you how to connect them. True education teaches you how to catch a fish. School teaches you, yeah, you caught the fish, but you didn't show your work, so it doesn't count. Throw it back. I'm just asking, what is school for? It's not education, that's just not true. If you still think that, you might be sniffing glue. See, the word education comes from the Latin root educe, meaning bring out, i.e. bring the gifts out of a person and make them viable. But school doesn't bring out much, it just stuffs more facts inside of you. Now some of that stuff is justifiable. We need reading, writing, and some arithmetic, that's fair. But are you telling me metamorphic and igneous rocks are more important than self-care? If suicide is the third leading cause of death of ages 10 to 24, and Harvard studies suggest the biggest predictor for success is self-control and emotional health, then why the heck aren't we taught how to handle stress, bullies, or rejection? How about anxiety or depression? You know, skills we need for our entire lives. Bro, I don't even know how to cook. I'm honestly surprised I'm still alive. But hey, at least I can name all the battles that happened in the Civil War. Seriously, what is school for? Some say you need it to be successful, and that's something we do not doubt. But do you own a MacBook or iPhone? Did you know they both were created by a dropout? Are you watching this video on Facebook or YouTube? Doesn't matter which you choose, they both were created by dropouts. Ever use Snapchat, WhatsApp, shopped at Whole Foods? Well, thank a dropout. Does your home furniture come from IKEA? Okay, don't get the wrong idea. He was not a dropout. Don't be a fool. I mean, how could he drop out? Ingvar Kamprad, founder of IKEA, never even went to school. I know what you're thinking. He's just picking and choosing. There's millions who didn't go to school that aren't successful. Who is he fooling? And you're right. But open your history books and start perusing. You'll find the very people we idolize in school never really had formal and/or secondary schooling. I'm talking George Washington, Abe Lincoln. America's best presidents had zero school between them. Ben Franklin, Thomas Edison, shall I proceed? Ernest Hemingway, Mark Twain, Teddy Roosevelt, Margaret Mead. Now please, I'm not saying drop out, because some schools are great and many teachers are rare treasures. I'm saying that there's a difference between people who are smart and people who score better. I'm saying that your future is something that no test will ever measure. Even if that test begins in 3 letters like SAT, ACT, it's BS if they say those determine your LIFE. No, your destiny is in your hands. You must shape it to be great. So don't expect school to open doors, because it's more likely to slam them in your face. Sometimes I wonder about all the dreams lost in school and how much potential goes to waste. If it wasn't for music and YouTube, then I would have been just another lost case. Everybody watching this, please, close your eyes. Imagine a child sitting in the back of some teacher's class in some town. He never raises his hand, he fails most of his classes, but inside of him, there is a passion. And if nurtured and brought out, will lead him to discover the cure for cancer. But you see, I'm afraid that that child's gift will never come out. He will never win the Nobel Prize award because in class he was ignored and his worth was judged only by his scores. So teachers, principals, parents, advisors, and students, I ask one more time, what is school for?
So what do you think is more important, having a work experience or a degree?
I think having some education as a baseline is a good starting point, but definitely building up experience is probably the best determination of how you'll do in the future. So education isn't everything, experience goes a long way.
I'm basically from Ukraine, and I arrived here just to Canada like 2 months ago. And basically, I'm an entrepreneur. Before I had my own online course, so I just had my own experience, and that's why I start to make money with that. So basically, for me, it works without degree, but I still think it's very important for many people to get this degree. And if you have any chance to get it, people supposed to do it for sure.
Having a degree and also work experience, because if you have a degree and you don't have an experience, how would you get into the workforce? So you must have some sort of training or something, a work experience to get into the fields, right?
So in my case, I would say that work experience is more important than a degree. I come from a family that even my parents and my grandparents, they didn't have a degree, but they were successful in their lives. So yeah, I would say that work experience is more important more than a degree.
Do you think a person with a degree should have an advantage over people that have the experience in the field?
I guess so, but it also depends on the field. Because, like, if we speak about medical field, it's like very important to have any experience. Sorry, but like if we speak about like restaurants or something like that, step by step, people have. Could start without any experience, and then step by step to get it.
Ooh. That largely depends on the field. Like in the sciences, that's debatable, and then, but in business, some people are just have a better mind for it than others, even if they have the education or not.
No, I disagree.
Do you think it's fair to ask for a degree from jobs that are based on experience?
No, I mean it's good to ask in order to have like to see if the people that is looking for the job is they have like kind of a knowledge, but that shouldn't be like a requisite. Should be just for no, but they would have they take into account both the degree and the one that doesn't have the degree as same.
Yeah, in most cases, it seems like a fair, like not a suit. Like there's too many jobs that ask for high degrees that don't need them, but in some jobs there's a good baseline that should be there.
I don't think so. If you have the job experience, you should not have a degree to get the job. You can have a college education or a high school education, and you have experience, you should get that job.
A lot of employers, they ask about like what kind of degree do you have and what experience do you have before. But basically, I know without any experience in Canada, it's very difficult to get a job.
Do you have a degree, and if so, has it been useful for you?
I do. It has been useful. It's helped me like approach different scenarios where I could use the skills I had in that degree, but I wouldn't say it's been a life changer overall.
I do have a college education twice, George Brown and Access Business College, and it's been useful to me, yeah.
Work experience versus academic education. Mrs. Audrey, you have the final results of our poll, correct?
Yes, Pastor, I do. So we have here 7% that say academic education is more significant, 4% that say anyone can have work experience, 85% of people say they are both important, and 4% say they have no importance whatsoever. So there we have it, the final results.
And maybe you're somebody who says, you know what, I've been doing my best to go forward academically, or you've been somebody who knocks on doors for opportunity, yet you aren't able to have any doors open for you. Well, in the Bible, it shows us about a man who would wait ever so often around this fountain for the waters to be moved. And because he was sick for about 38 years, he would do his best to get close to the waters to be healed. Only thing that he wasn't able to, he wouldn't reach. A lot of the times we try to do things on our own. We try to go forward in life. We try to prosper. We try to be financially stable. We try to start a family. We try to do a whole bunch of things by ourselves. And because us as human beings are limited, that's where we need to turn to the power of Jesus. To conclude the story, the Bible says that Jesus came and spoke to him. What do you want me to do for you? And you see, he was so focused on him going to the water, he said, I don't have nobody to help me. But Jesus, he healed him. You can do so much on your own. You're a strong person. You've studied. You're academically well-equipped. But if the power of Jesus is not present in your life, then you're always going to be limited. So maybe you say, Pastor, right now I don't go forward. What's going on? What you need is the power of Jesus. Just like this person, who we're going to show you right now. You're going to pay attention to the testimony. When we come back, you know what we're going to do? We're going to pray. We're going to invoke the name of Jesus and his power, just like this man who was healed. You're going to be healed. You're going to be touched. The power of Jesus is going to enter in your life. And the same exact way the Bible says that after 38 years, this man was healed. You who watch us right now, your life is going to change. Your life is going to start to go forward. What's been blocked for so long, what's been closed for so long, God is going to be able to open. Pay attention to this testimony. We'll be right back.
Supernatural faith, obedience,
I was able to drink the blessed water,
made their miracle possible.
Hi, my name is Marlon. And a year ago, I was noticing a serious problem. I was losing weight, and I started seeing blood when I went to the bathroom. And the situation was just getting worse. At that point in time, I worked for myself, so I really didn't have the insurance that I needed. So I kind of procrastinated in going to the doctor to follow up to see what was happening. Until there was one Sunday, I had to go to the emergency room because the pains that I was feeling inside of my stomach was so strong that I couldn't do anything. I could only just lie in bed or run from the bed to the bathroom or from the bathroom to the bed. That was just it. Until when I went to the emergency room and they said that I had a problem, that my immune system was fighting against my stomach. Pretty much my body was fighting against my body. And because it was fighting against my body, it started to deteriorate the stomach wall and I began to bleed. And this bleeding was just not something light. It was really, really, really heavy. The pains were so severe that I started to see in one of my eyes, I couldn't see in this eye anymore. My right eye, I couldn't see anything else. Everything was blocking out. Blood was flowing more. I had to be admitted to the hospital. So I was admitted. The medications that they wanted to give to me to try to stop my, to stop my immune system from actually working would also cause problems with my brain. And they started me on the treatment, and I was seeing things, I was hearing things. The bed was moving. It was like one of the most horrific experiences that I've had. So the first day the doctor gave me the medication, it wasn't helping. The second day, he doubled the strength of the medication, which would actually give me more problems mentally speaking, and it still wasn't working. I had to see an eye specialist because they said that they didn't understand why my vision was deteriorating. But the problem is that I was having so much blood loss that the blood loss was becoming clots in my body. So these little blood clots were leaving the stomach and they were traveling inside of my body, into my heart, into my lungs, into my eyes. It was moving around in my body. And you know that if a person has a blood clot, if this blood clot goes into your aorta, into your heart, it can stop your heart from actually functioning and you can die. So they had me monitored for a long time, and I did a lot of tests. I did CAT scans, blood flow tests, eye tests. I was coming to the church in those moments, and I was using my faith, of course. I was sowing my seed. I was using my faith. I was using the blessed water. Every Sunday we have a purpose, which is drinking the spiritual treatment. And I believe that God has power to heal. So there was a Sunday that the pastor, he said, all those who have an incurable disease, a problem that you have to take medications for the rest of your life. And the doctor says that this condition cannot change. He says, come to the altar, place your spiritual treatment on the altar, because the God of the impossible is going to do something impossible for you. And I truly believed. And I went to the altar. I placed my spiritual treatment there. And I said, God, was it a man that called me to challenge, or it was you? Because if really and truly you can heal me, if you don't heal me now, I'll take medications for the rest of my life, because I'm not going to go back to that same situation of being sick. I'm not going to go back to that same situation of bleeding or almost dying. I'm not going to go back to it. And I I used this challenge to really ignite my faith. And the moment that I drank of that water in that moment, the spiritual treatment in that moment, the miracle occurred. I immediately felt sick. My stomach just felt weird. And it's not a way that I felt before. It was totally, completely different. And I went to the restroom, and instead of using the restroom, I threw up. I felt better. The pains subsided. The next day, I was looking for the pains. There was no more pains. And since that day, I never had a problem with this bleeding. I never had a problem with this stomach problem, or with my body fighting against my body. So it was something that I really had to use my revolt, the blessed water spiritual treatment, but believing that something had to happen when we use our faith. And the answer came in that moment.
Lift up my eyes to the hills, from where does my help come? My help comes from my Lord, who made heaven and earth. He won't let my foot be moved. He who keeps me is the Lord, the one who keeps Israel.
Prepare a glass of water or get closer to your television screen. At this moment, we will have a special prayer to your name.
My God, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I pray for this person who's watching us now in this moment, who has been doing everything to go forward, has been trying everything to go forward, has been knocking on every door to go forward, whether that be financially, trying to go forward in their marriage. They try to go forward, my Lord, in their health. They were diagnosed with an illness that to many has no cure. They've been working, my Father, to go forward for their family, yet it's as if every door is closed. But my Lord, in the same exact way that you healed this man, I ask that you heal this person. I ask, my Lord, that your power reaches beyond this TV screen and works inside of those who watch us, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, from Tuber, whether at their house right now, those who don't know where else to go. In Jesus' name, receive this blessing. My Father, that this water that they have next to their TV be blessed. That in the moment that they drink of this water, my Lord, anything that's been going around them, anything that's been working inside of them negatively, mental health issues, disorders, that they be free. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to drink of this water, drink with faith, because in Jesus' name, He works right now in this moment. (2420) Dufferin Street here in Toronto. We are located on the corner of Bowie Avenue and Dufferin Street, about a block and a half. We're on Eglinton, as you guys see right there on the screen. You can take the 29 bus or the 929 bus, and you can end up right in front of our building. Our headquarters right here in Toronto. You have the opportunity to join us this Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning to see the power of God work inside of your life. Understand one thing. Those miracles that you always heard about, the power of God that you've read ever since a little kid, those miracles, you don't wait on them, you provoke them. You do something to get that in your life. And what I'm letting you know, leave your house and this Sunday, be here with us. You won't regret it. 2420 Dufferin Street this Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning in our gathering of faith and miracles. We'll be waiting for you. God bless all of you. Have a good night.
7 prayers. In the gathering of faith and miracles, bringing restoration to health, prayer for your deliverance, to your love life, to your family, your financial life, for inner peace, and a real and true encounter with God. There are 7 prayers that will impact your life and destroy all your troubles, bringing new life in every way. Sunday of the Gathering of Faith and Miracles. Sunday at 10 a.m. 2420 Different Street, 1 block north of Eglinton Avenue, and at every